Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective, and today we're here looking at another keyboard. This one is from Tecware and is known as the Spectre 96. It also comes in a smaller configuration, but I wanted to go with as full size of a keyboard as possible because I think that very often these customized keyboards aren't really full size or as close to as full size as they could be. And as a person that really likes to have a numpad, I always will prefer to showcase those options. So this keyboard retails at about 126 Canadian dollars. So it's certainly not the cheapest keyboard, but it's far from the most expensive. And it offers several features that you would see potentially on some higher end brands, coming down at a more realistic price point for, people that are willing to invest in a mechanical keyboard. So with that being said, let's go over everything that we get and then dive right in. So we are looking at a candy red linear switch, which is based off of the cherry switch. These switches are hot swappable, south-facing 5 pins, and they are RGB backlit, so we'll see how that looks once we open it up. 3 modes of connectivity: Bluetooth, the 2.4 gigahertz dongle, and USB Type-C. The keyboard itself features PBT keycaps and has a 4,000 milliamp battery, which they claim on the packaging will give you around 400 hours. But they do state, and I find this interesting, that the maximum brightness LED will drain the battery in 10 hours, which is quite a short life. I'm really curious to know if all keyboards with that battery size have that problem, or is it just this one? So that's something I'm going to keep on my eye out on future keyboard reviews. It also features a volume knob, which is, I believe, programmable, and an LCD screen, which gives you the option of displaying GIFs or pictures, time and date, and system information. This keyboard was provided to me by Tecware. It was not personally purchased. However, my opinions and my review today remains my own. Let's go ahead and flip this over and open up the packaging and see what we get on the inside. We have a keycap and switch puller. We have a braided USB-A to USB Type-C cable. We have a series of switches, spare ones, and then we have 2 things in this little bag here, one of which is the spacebar dampener, if you will, and then another window for the LCD screen if you need to replace it. Not too sure why you'd need to do that, but it's included. We have a quick start card, and then of course the keyboard itself. A quick note on the switches: they are a Tecware Wraith Candy Red switch, so it's made by them. Looks okay. They come pre-lubed from the factory. The plastics do look a little on the thin side, and it looks like they're designed to be opened very easily without the usual tools. You can actually just pry up on either side with a fingernail and pop this open. So it's definitely assembled in a very different way than what we're used to seeing. So this is interesting to note. So I'm going to remove the cover here, and it looks like the window on mine has literally just fallen out. It appears that it's supposed to just fit in there. So I've pushed it back in. Some of the keycaps, I'm just going to angle it up. I'm looking specifically at this enter button. That was not aligned at the factory. And that, again, it happens. Spacebar looks like it has, yeah, spacebar had the same issue. I do note that there's a scratch or an imperfection up there. That's a real nitpick, I'll be honest, but now with the misaligned keys and the window popped off out of the box, I'm now paying attention to those sorts of things. The keyboard is made out of plastic, the exterior anyway, and it does have a fair bit of flex to it, more so than I've seen on boards of this price point. And again, flex is not necessarily your enemy so long as things are built and manufactured correctly. Let's continue our tour. We have 2 sets of feet, so you've got 3 different angles: no, mild, and high for placing the keyboard. You do have a magnetic storage for your 2.4 gigahertz dongle, and the dongle says Spectre 96 on it, just in case you have a whole lot of dongles sticking out of the back of your computer and you don't know which one's which. We have the indicators up here that work for caps lock and numlock, but if you don't have this very specific screen on, you're not going to know which one of those is actually displaying. Let's go ahead and get a typing test done here. Okay, so 74 words per minute is about the average that I do on a good keyboard. So I have to say that despite some of the drawbacks that I have experienced and some of the things that I don't necessarily like, I am able to type well on the keyboard. So the keyboard does its job. There are a few quality control issues out of the box I wasn't expecting. And I have mixed feelings on this screen being absolutely essential to know if numlock or cap locks is on. But for some people, you might look at that and be like, that's actually not an issue at all, and that's perfectly fine. The keyboard effects for the color aren't labeled, but at the very least, you can go through them and see what they're like. One thing I will say is that we get really good shine through on these keycaps. Like, you could use this in the dark. Those keys are pretty well defined as we lose light. The keyboard also has downloadable software, which allows you to do pretty much all the normal things that you would expect to see. It has custom profiles that you can go ahead and configure. It has the ability to program macros, customize the lighting. The nice part about this is it actually does tell you what is happening with all of the different options, which is nice. This is where you would import images for the TFT screen. You can do a per key RGB, and then there's some settings for key response time level, sleep time, whether or not there's any software updates that need to occur, that sort of thing. There is obviously, at least with my sample, some quality control issues where keys weren't perfectly seated. We did have an issue where this screen popped off during shipping. Placing it back in gives me the indication, anyway, that the tolerances might just be a bit too tight for this window. And the flex in the actual keyboard deck, which, again, isn't necessarily a bad thing, but may have led to that screen popping out. I don't know. It just could have gotten banged around in shipping, but that's how the box opens, so that's how I'm going to share it. This does take a couple minutes to learn how to use. I was able to navigate it okay. In terms of the actual keyboard and typing experience, I don't have any complaints. 74 words per minute on a first time go on a 30-second test is quite good. That is what I would hope and expect. There are a few things that, again, not my biggest loves. We don't have extra keycaps, so if you don't like delete page up and page down there up at the top, that's what you're living with. At any rate, based on what you see, I'd be very curious what you think of the keyboard in the comments down below. Make sure you're leaving your comments and your questions there, and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.